Welcome to the November 15th, 2020 online service for the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, Oregon. My name is Janet Stevens, and I have the honor of being your celebrant today. Our minister, the Reverend Rick Davis, is not in the pulpit this morning, so we are pleased to welcome Community Minister Reverend Bonnie Tarwater. Please join us at noon today for our Zoom fellowship gathering, and there will be more information about that later on in the service. Let's be together now in fellowship and in the presence of the sacred mystery of all creation.
Our opening hymn today is Lady of the Seasons Laughter. It's number 51 in the Gray Hymnal. Lady of the seasons' laughter, in the summer's warmth be near, when the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here amongst us till the firelight of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love our life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth. Goddess of all time's progression, stand with us when we engage, hands and hearts to end oppression, writing history's fairer page. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning age.
When we gather together in person, we join our voices in song and in love and in service. Today, we gather in a virtual world, so wherever you are, please join me in speaking our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. As Reverend Tarwater lights our chalices, I invite you to light a chalice, a candle, or a lamp. Kindle your flame with the love of our community and service to all, and we'll be lighting the same flame. Here at UUCS, we light 3 chalices. The first is for our congregation, friends and members. The second is for our sister congregation in Šimunfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And the third is for the children and youth. Please join us in singing the flame into light.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Hello and welcome to the Time for All Ages portion of the service. As you may or may not know, 2 cultures in our shared world celebrated this week with a festival of lanterns or lights. Last week, I told you the story of the Golden Lantern, which is a traditional tale often told at the Martinmas Festival of Lanterns held each year in honor of Saint Martin, who lived in the 4th century AD. The story of Saint Martin is that one night, during the bitter cold of winter, he stopped along the road leading into the city to help a houseless man keep warm by tearing his own cloak in 2 pieces and offering one half to the man who was in need of warmth. Later that night, Saint Martin had a dream where he saw an angel wearing the same piece of cloak he had given the man, and it moved him deeply. This experience helped Saint Martin to always remember his devotion to helping others in need. The festival of Martinmas is celebrated with the lighting of lanterns, symbolizing the way each of us has a warm lantern right here in our hearts, and that we too may offer this warmth of our heart in the form of our love, our caring, and with our helping hands to others this holiday season. For the time of Martinmas begins the lead up to Christmas. This week, I want to share with you a story that is often told to children at the Festival of Lights, or Diwali, because Diwali, one of the most popular festivals in all of India, is also being celebrated this weekend. During the time of Diwali, the streets of cities and towns all over India are lined with small oil lamps made of clay called diyas. Candles and lamps line the stairs leading down to the great river Ganges, and there are floating candles on the river and fireworks. The candles lit at Diwali are meant to symbolize the victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance, as you will see illustrated in the story I'm about to tell you from the Ramayana. This is the story of how Lord Rama triumphed over the evil demon Ravana, and the version I'm going to share with you was written by the Activity Village website. Once upon a time, there was a great warrior, Prince Rama, who had a beautiful wife named Sita. There was also a terrible demon king, Ravana. He had 20 arms and 10 heads and was feared throughout the land. He wanted to make Sita his wife, and one day he kidnapped her and took her away in his chariot. Clever Sita left a trail of her jewelry behind for her beloved Rama to follow. Rama followed the trail of glittering jewelry until he met the Monkey King Hanuman, who became his friend and agreed to help find Sita. Messages were sent to all of the monkeys in the world, and through them to all of the bears, who set out to find Sita. After a very long search, Hanuman found Sita imprisoned on an island. Rama's army of monkeys and bears couldn't reach the island, so they began to build a bridge, and soon all of the animals of the world, large and small, came to help. When the bridge was built, they rushed across it and fought a mighty battle. When Rama killed the evil Ravana with a magic arrow, The whole world rejoiced. Rama and journey back to their land, and everybody lit oil lamps to guide them on their way and welcome them back. Ever since, people light lamps at Diwali to remember that light triumphs over dark and good triumphs over evil. Thank you for listening. Happy Martin Mas and happy Diwali. May all beings be safe, happy, and well. Blessed be. Please do consider joining us for the children's worship time being held on Sunday mornings just before the live streamed service at 9:45 a.m. via Zoom. We hope to see you there. Thanks.
Compassion is to recognize the suffering of others and then take action to help. Compassion is an expression of caring for those who are suffering. Compassion is not just for those we know, those we sympathize with. Today, let's have compassion for those who feel great loss, fear, and anxiety because recent events didn't go the way they hoped. By showing compassion, looking at the world through their eyes, standing for a while in their shoes, acknowledging that their feelings do matter, perhaps we can begin to heal, to reach out, to remember that we are all human. We are all full of hopes, full of dreams for a better future. You are invited to join Compassionate Connections on the second Sunday of each month via Zoom at noon, and to share your joys and concerns online to keep us up with what's going on in the congregation.
Our pastoral hymn today is What Wondrous Love. It's number 18 in the gray hymnal.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss, and it takes away the pain of my soul, and it takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down
1 John 7, 11, and 12. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Beloved, if God so loved us, we ought to love one another. No one has seen God at any time, but if we love one another, God abides in us, and his love has been perfected in us. From Is It Too Late? A Theology of Ecology by Dr. John B. Cobb, Jr. It is my hope that we can rescue the word God from the oppressive and repressive and unreal connotations it has come to have for so many people. Perhaps we can give it a new meaning, at once more Christian and more universal, at once more personal and more natural. But if it is what we are to do, we must not think in terms of recovering old beliefs about God, but about discovering God afresh. Of course, there will be elements of recovery. Every new growth must have its roots in the past. If there were no continuity, it would be wrong to speak of God at all. But the vision we need of nature and of people's place in it cannot develop by repeating the past view, whether biblical or traditional. It will reflect and be shaped by that history, but it must grow out of reflection on ecology, evolution, human biology, and contemporary philosophy as well. Our view of God must not be a reluctant compromise with science and modernity. It must be fully rooted in our present situation, fully affirming what evidence suggests.
Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. I have to thank everyone who's here in the sanctuary for all of your hard work in creating this worship service. Thank you to Janet for her warm welcome, and much thanks to your wonderful minister, Reverend Rick, who has welcomed me so much in my new move to Oregon and inviting me to preach and share with you about myself and my community ministry. You know you have a wonderful minister, and I thank you, Reverend Rick, for your kindness. And my husband, Walt Rutherford, and I really look forward to getting to know you. We are neighbors. We recently purchased a small farm in Dallas, so we're only less than a half an hour drive away. So thank you for your warm welcome. It's particularly poignant for me to be here in this beautiful Unitarian Universalist sanctuary, for I was ordained as a Unitarian Universalist where Rick did his internship at First UU Church of San Diego, so we have this in common. And I have been an affiliate community minister there at First UU Church, where I was ordained 20 years ago. Now, I had an experience in seminary that I was kind of zapped by the Holy Spirit, or had a conversion, or whatever you want. I had not grown up in religion, and I had no idea what Jesus taught. You know, a woman, I said very proudly one day, I'm sorry, I had to check a Bible out at the library because I don't own one. And I said that kind of smugly as a Unitarian. Some kind Christian soul brought me a Bible, a pink Bible that I still have. So I was blown away by what I learned in studying the teachings of Jesus. Now, Unitarian Universalism has grown a lot because 20 years ago, after I had this profound experience and got so excited about the teachings of Jesus, a lot of UU churches weren't that happy to have me come in and want to pray and want to talk about God and preach the good news of the gospel. And in fact, the UUA, I think, was quite relieved when the United Church of Christ, some people call it Unitarians Considering Christ, but welcomed me, and I began serving as a parish minister in UCC churches. The UUA, I think, was just happy to get rid of me, quite frankly. I was a feminist and an artist, I had long hair, and I was talking about Jesus, so they are welcoming me back. And this is, I think, a testament to the UUA's opening to many walks and many paths. So I celebrate you and your open-mindedness to have me come. And I always say I don't consider myself a Christian, but I do follow the teachings of Jesus because they have profoundly affected my life. Now, obviously, I'm not aligned with the Roman Empire, which took over the Christian church early in Christian history. It was actually this personal crisis that overwhelmed me with rageful feelings that as a young woman, I didn't know what to do with these feelings of really wanting to harm my ex-husband because he was harming me, had harmed my children, and I could not cope with these rageful feelings. And I actually had a thought one day. I thought, you better go to seminary because that would be a better place for you and for your children than you're ending up in penitentiary. Now, I don't know where this thought came from, because first of all, I didn't know anything about seminary, and I didn't know anything about penitentiary and jails, but it feels now like it was Holy Ghost zapped me, it was a God entering into my life, and I went to the Claremont School of Theology. Now, I want to share with you, in case you don't know, that Claremont School of Theology is a world-class, fabulous seminary, and it has recently moved here to Salem. And it is now the third graduate school of Willamette University. So we are very fortunate here in the Willamette Valley to have this incredibly rich and profound resource. So what I learned in seminary, in part, was that Jesus offered a path. He had these values of mercy and tenderness, that we're not here to serve empire or money, but God, and what he calls the least of these. Now, I had been taught by my secular culture and my secular family that modern smart people really didn't need God. God was really no longer necessary, and that we had science now that taught us about the survival of the fittest. And I had a hunch, I think I gathered from everything that I interacted with, that life wasn't terribly purposeful or meaningful, but that it was very important that I become successful. God was a very foreign concept to me. And I have to admit that I had already enrolled in Claremont School of Theology. I had begun classes when one day I got a dictionary and I looked up theology. I had no idea what it meant. And I thought one day, I better know what theology is if that's what I'm studying. And of course it means the study of God, which you probably already knew. And I highly recommend it. I found out that some of my teachers and people that I was sitting with that were Christian and Jewish and Islamic, some of them were the smartest people I'd ever met. And my mother had taught me that Christians were simple-minded fools. And I found out it really wasn't really quite the case. It was feminist theology that rocked my world. And it turns out that Catholic feminist women rewrote theology a few decades ago, one of the most extraordinary things that has ever happened in the history of university and academy life. And they brought concepts that this in patriarchy, which we know a lot about, any oppressive system, was large measure fueled by these concepts and images and stories of a white guy up in the sky with a long beard telling everybody what to do. and that it was very important that in our religious imaginations we recast that God, which is not really the God of the Bible, by the way. It's in there, but there's many metaphors of God in the Bible. But it's very important for us, particularly as a young woman who was looking how to become a more loving parent and mother, very important for me and very meaningful for me to recast God as a woman. Now, obviously, God is not male or female. But for me, as a single mother, trying to learn how to be a more loving mother, it was profoundly impacting and for me to have these kinds of new stories and reimaginings, that God was like a loving mother, and that I could become a loving mother when I interacted and asked for help and guidance from a mother God. Now, I have a very a story that's probably like many of yours. I had a profound experience in my life when my children were born. And I fell in love with my children. It completely changed me as a human being. I would say it was the most profound mystical experience of my life, maybe until I became a grandmother. But I was worried. You know, I'd grown up in an alcoholic family. I really hadn't been given all of the mother love that I had really yearned for, and I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where I would learn how to be a loving mother. How could I do that? I didn't have any idea. I was terrified the whole time I was pregnant. And I had a very difficult, first labor and 24 hours of labor and then a C-section, and I was so wrought with fear and anxiety as a young woman, and the doctor put my firstborn son David in my arms, and I realized that I was going to be okay because I'm an animal, and he's an animal. We're both creatures, and that helped me and has guided me like nothing else. We are all animals and creatures of this beautiful planet Earth. Now, like most people in an atheistic secular culture, I didn't have any idea that there was any deprivation in my life due to a lack of God concepts or relationships, but now I believe that I was somewhat spiritually malnourished. Now, there are many paths to being spiritually nourished. But for me, this exploration of God has been enormously healing and meaningful. I would say for me, if I had to put Christianity into 5 words, it means this: love is stronger than death. Love is stronger than any torture, any pain, any death. And this is an important message during this pandemic. That there are forces that we are a part of that are stronger and that will last. The love we give and receive is beyond anything we can understand. Now, as a white American woman, I of course have blood on my hands in our racist, sexist, classist history, and we are all challenged to tell the truth. And of course, this was one of Jesus' teachings, that the truth will set us free. And it's also Gloria Steinem, who I read on a refrigerator magnet of a friend of mine. But first, it will piss you off. So I had a lot of rage to deal with. And I always say I really got my money's worth in seminary because I really learned how to forgive my husband. And I learned and am learning to forgive myself. Now I have a whole new vocabulary to talk about God, and this has become pretty popular in a lot of UU Church. It is a vocabulary of God brought to us by process theology and philosophy. And I have been blessed by a very close relationship with my teacher and mentor, Dr. John Cobb, who's the major interpreter of Alfred North Whitehead, who was a physicist at the beginning of the 20th century. And he basically, I like to say, he sort of brought God back into the conversation as a physicist. Now, Whitehead taught us that this mechanistic idea that the universe runs like a machine, which is really, by the way, undergirded by this idea that God left creation and, sort of outside, not feeling anything. He sort of brought God back and said, God is in relationship, in the process of our love for one another, of our being together, of all the ways we change one another. This is where God is. It's a process. It's a relationship. Now, what's also interesting is that I went to China with Dr. Cobb last year because it turns out that China is much more interested in process philosophy, which is an ecologic philosophy of organisms, of the organic whole, that everything is interconnected, our seventh principle. They are teaching ecology in China by teaching Whitehead and process philosophy. So there was theology, the study of God, and philosophy, process, theology, and philosophy. There's both. In China, they're doing philosophy, clearly. And there are 36 process centers now teaching ecologic ways of thinking in China. It's not that interest here in the United States yet, unfortunately, but we have the Center for Process Studies that has come with Claremont School of Theology to Willamette University. Now, all this God talk, you may say, she's just not a normal UU minister. I don't know how many people have talked about God in this pulpit in recent years. But recently I heard Dr. Raymond Moody, who is a wonderful physician, and he's an expert in near-death experiences. And he said a beautiful thing. He said, I learned in medical school, he became a psychiatrist, what a normal person is. A normal person is someone you don't know. So I would say, to know you is to love you, to know me is to love me. We are, all of us, complex. So I look forward to getting to know you. So this esoteric, mystical path of the teachings of Jesus is one that is not taught to most Christians today, nor has it really been very popular throughout history. But there are many people who have taken this path of Jesus' teaching, who have learned to live lives of inner peace as they worked for justice, people who were loving in worlds of war and hate, people like Mary Magdalene and Hildegard, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, St. Francis and St. Clare of Assisi, Dr. Cobb and Dorothy Day, all Christians who show us a path to live in love. Well, in seminary, I began studying visions and religious experiences, and I kept having this memory of this dream, and I had started doing dream work with our UU brother, Reverend Jeremy Taylor, who was a community minister, as I'd always been interested in my dreams, and I kept remembering this dream I had as a child. And the dream was that I went down into this tomb with my mother, into the tomb of Mother Mary, and there she woke up. She was this wooden sarcophagus, and she woke up, or she was resurrected. She was a wooden statue that turned to flesh. And I went to my mother one day and I said, I keep having this memory of this, what I think may have been a reoccurring, a very powerful dream I had as a child. And my mother said, my secular mother, who didn't believe in any kind of hocus pocus, her eyes got really big and she said, oh no, Bonnie, that was not a dream. You had a vision. I was there. And now I know this place that I had a vision as a child, maybe it was a daydream, doesn't matter to me anymore. It's a very common place in the Holy Land, this tomb that's underground for people to have visionary experiences. But now it does not matter to me whether it's a daydream, a vision, or a dream. It has become a guiding metaphor for my life. For a wooden woman, which I felt like as a single mother, unprepared to be a mother, has been turning to flesh and filled with feelings. A dead woman that we have treated our Mother Earth like, as if she was dead, as if she did not have feelings, has come to life for us. And a sleeping woman, like a fairy tale, Sleeping Beauty, has awakened. Whitehead believed, if you can believe this, that feelings, are you ready, make up 100% of the universe. This is kind of opposite of the mechanistic worldview of Descartes and mechanist ideas. And this idea that everything in the universe is filled with passionate feelings, and that God is filled with feelings, and that God is feeling all of our pain right now during the pandemic, during all of the economic injustice, the war, the racism, the sexism, all of it. God is feeling all of it with us. So it's urgent for us, I believe, to reconsider God as a partner, as a mother, as a grandmother, as someone filled with feelings that wants to dance with us, wants to guide us, wants to be present for us in this time of ecologic devastation. It is urgent that we humans come back to life from our dead states, wake up from our sleep that's been brought on by mechanistic worldviews that are made inaccurate by physics. It's time to move into our feelings, into our bodies. It's time to treat the mother instinct within all of us, men and women, the parent instinct of children, with honor. So let's breathe together, shall we? And I want to share, I've been going to a biodynamic farming conference the last few days, and it's been so profoundly meaningful. And it turns out that the earth is a creature who breathes out from 3 a.m. till noon. So we breathe out, and everything rises like the mist. So if God is filled with feeling, and all creatures are filled with feelings, this God of physics is asking us to wake up. Now, I worked on an ecology conference with Dr. Cobb in 2015 called Seizing an Alternative, and it was at that time that I really woke up to the nightmare that's our current ecologic crisis, and really began to dedicate the rest of my life and my ministry to Mother Earth. It has been my experience as a minister that something happens in this invisible realm when I have ministered to people when someone is sick and in a hospital bed or in a bed at home. And I believe that's where we are now as a human species, that we are now understanding that we have done much to poison and harm and kill the creatures of our Mother Earth, and that it is time now for us to join hands and pray around a sick relative. It is past time that we come out of our teenage self-centered rooms of isolation and gather round our common home, Mother Earth, and pray. I know as a person, as a minister, as a mother, as a grandmother, that all crisis is an invitation for growth and change. And our Church for Our Common Home, our community ministry, is God-centered and guided. It's a church dedicated to Mother Earth, loving community, beauty, and the arts. I learned as a drama teacher and as a theater director, playwright, as an actress, before I became a minister, that we can only create something truly magnificently beautiful when we create a safe harbor of love for the inner child that is an artist within everyone to come forth. Now, Rudolf Steiner is the man of the hour for me, because he's the one that began biodynamic farming, which I have come. We have expanded our ministry to be not only a home church, an internet church with an arts ministry, but to do biodynamic farming. So we have come here to Oregon. Oh, there's some pictures here, and we have this beautiful 5 We're here to do biodynamic farming and to create a church to pray for the earth. We have a barn that is, we're making beautiful to be a dance studio, and we are also creating art gallery space. And it's amazing to me how Steiner, who began having esoteric, parapsychological experiences as a child, and then got interested in theosophy, and he was basically given the message that Eastern religions were preferable, were superior as a mystical, esoteric path. And he, like me, kept having these kinds of Christian kinds of experiences. So he has, I think, for me, helped me to understand that both Eastern and Western paths can lead us very deeply. We are also, in our community ministry, a retreat center. And I just got the idea driving here today. Maybe we should call it Grandma's house. And we want to provide a place of beauty for people to commune with nature, to learn how to grow healthy food, to learn to pray and honor all of the creatures together. So why did Mother Mary come to me as a child, whether in a daydream, a dream, or a vision? What I've come to understand as a dream worker, that our dreams and visions don't come for us individually, but they come for us collectively as a human family. They long to be shared in stories and artwork. They long to be interacted with and loved. I now know that this is not a vision for me, it's for all of us, that all of us need to honor the Divine Mother in our families and within ourselves. All of us need to learn how to turn to flesh and feel our feelings deeply. All of us need to resurrect a God, as we say in 12 Steps, that we can do business with. So she is beckoning, I believe, from deep down under the ground. Like the grandmothers that died before I was born, I feel her spirit. Over the river and through the woods, to grandmother's house we go. May all of us learn to be like loving grandmothers, the one who invites all of her children, regardless of whether they've been in jail, regardless of how obnoxious they are, regardless if they have a different theology, regardless of how sick they are, how needy they are, how wonderful and clever they are, she invites all of her children and grandchildren into her lap, into her table. I hear her calling us. Do you hear her? She's calling. She wants to guide us, inspire us, awaken us. She is here, her presence. And she says, come, it's time for us to care for our common home, for our common family, for all creatures, especially the children and grandchildren. Dinner's ready. Please, everyone, come to the table. May it be so, and amen. I invite you to close your eyes, to feel your feet on the ground of Mother Earth, and to breathe in and to hold a baby in your arms. Look down at this beautiful baby and see anyone who's ever loved you. Maybe it's not even a human creature, maybe it's a dog, someone who has loved you, and rock them in your arms and love them, and know that you're both creatures made from a source beyond ourselves. Send that baby love. Know that you also are God's sacred child, and she loves you. She's always with you. May you be one with her. Amen.
We are called to bring our gifts of love and service. You are invited to offer the sacrament of support for this community and its many partners. Our Share the Plate recipient for November is the Santiam Canyon Wildlife Relief Fund. The fund was established by Santiam Hospital to provide immediate and long-term relief to families who are victims of this unprecedented 2020 fire season. These funds go to emergency supplies such as food, clothing, fuel cards, and food and shelter for animals. The funds will also go to cleanup and rebuilding efforts, as well as temporary housing for fire victims. Your pledges and gifts of support can be made by logging on to uusalem.org or through the mail. Your generosity is appreciated. The time has come for us to light our social justice lantern. From our community chalice, we light the flame of our social justice lantern to symbolize all the ways that the ministries of this congregation bless and nourish the wider world. I offer you a prayer as we extinguish our chalices. May the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you and favor you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you. And may this flame burn bright in your life until we are together again. There is so much happening in our community, and I encourage you to log on to uusalem.org to find a listing of all the scheduled events and classes and all the news. At this time, I'd like to invite George Struble to update us on the Endowment Fund campaign, and then Vicki Cunningham will give us an update on the work of the communications team.
There has been action in the Legacy campaign this week. One cash gift of $5,000 designated for the endowment, one beneficiary designation of a retirement account, $12,000, and one estate provision, which is a percentage, but estimated at least $100,000. These bring the total from this campaign to $293,000. With another $157,000 this week, we will qualify for the challenge pledge of another $50,000. So I ask you, who have been considering your participation in this campaign, to make your decision and tell me this week, this is the last week of the campaign. We can have a very significant effect on the longer-term strength of this congregation. The future congregation will be more able to rise to the challenges of its day, whatever they are. This LP Can we see it? I'm holding an LP, and there's a sign on it that says TUIT, a TUIT. So it says it's a TUIT. It isn't really. The only thing it has in common with a TUIT is that it's round. Fortunately, TUITs are virtual. So I can give you one right now. So if you were going to make your commitment to our legacy campaign, when you got around to it, you're there. You have just got around to it. Thank you.
Good morning. With all the separations due to COVID-19, communications to and within our congregation is more important than ever, as well as communicating our messages of hope to the wider community. Join us, the UUCS communications team, in this important work while safely at home. I am Vicki Cunningham, Chair of the Communications Team. We are looking for more members to work with us on the newsletter, weekly mailings, Facebook, and website. Purposeful work, when we are all feeling locked in and powerless, can be helpful to each of us as individuals as well. We have kept our own community of editors and technicians by meeting regularly via Zoom and communicating by email and phone. We thank everyone at UUCS who helps us in our work by submitting various articles to our team. But we would like to have more help. The communications team will provide on-the-job training to volunteers over the internet or phone, or one-on-one if you prefer, to make you more comfortable in your assigned work. There are lots of opportunities to learn more if you wish. As a bonus, you get to hear the news first. A basic familiarity with computers, word processing, and email are important. We can train you on our specific media, newsletter, MailChimp mailings, the website, publicity, and Facebook. If you have experience in websites in WordPress, we particularly encourage you to apply. Contact me, Vicki Cunningham, Communications Chair, at editors@uusalem.org. Thank you. We hope you will join our communications team.
Our closing hymn today is Guide My Feet. It's number 348 in the Gray Hymnal.
Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search
benediction is by Miriam Therese Winter. And I like to say, when we sing, we pray twice. May the blessing of God go before you. May her grace and peace abound. May her spirit live within you. May her love wrap you round. May her blessing remain with you always. May you walk on holy ground. May we all go in peace.
I invite you to join me in saying our closing words. May faith in the Spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.